The year is 1941. Europe kneels beneath the boots of the Third Reich. Nazi banners hang from every capital, and the voice of Adolf Hitler echoes through every German radio like the word of a prophet. To millions, he's not just a man, he's destiny itself. The leader who rebuilt a broken nation, turned despair into pride, and promised an empire that would last 1,000 years. But behind the thunderous speeches and the roaring crowds, something darker is forming, small cracks in the facade of perfection. Because power built on fear always rots from within. And soon, the man who once seemed untouchable will face his first tremor of betrayal. Not from his enemies, but from one of his oldest friends. This is the story of the fall before the fall, the unraveling of Hitler's illusion of control. It begins with a plane, slicing through the cold night sky above Scotland. Inside sits a man in full Nazi uniform, gripping the controls with trembling hands. His name is Rudolf Hess, Hitler's deputy, his comrade from the early days of the Nazi movement, the man who once helped write Mein Kampf. And tonight he's not flying into battle, he's defecting. When his plane crashes near Glasgow, British farmers rush to the wreckage, expecting a downed enemy pilot. But when intelligence officers confirm his identity, the world is stunned. One of the highest-ranking men in Germany, the number 3 in the Nazi hierarchy, has just parachuted into enemy territory. Hess claims he's on a peace mission. He insists he came alone, to negotiate directly with the British government, hoping to end the war. But his motives are far murkier. Behind the talk of peace lies desperation. Hess is losing influence in Berlin. His voice in Hitler's inner circle is fading. Göring and Himmler have replaced him as the Führer's favorites. In a final delusional gamble, he believes that if he can make peace with Britain, he'll return home as a hero. But instead, he becomes the first visible fracture in Hitler's perfect machine. When news of the defection reaches Berlin, Hitler erupts in rage. He orders all mentions of Hess erased from the record. Statues removed, names scrubbed, portraits burned, but the damage is done. For years, Nazi propaganda had painted the Reich as a brotherhood bound by loyalty and destiny. Now, one of its founding members has fled, and the people begin to whisper, if Hess has lost faith, who's next? The job of silencing those whispers falls to Joseph Goebbels, the master of spin. Within hours, he releases a statement. Hess has gone insane. Overworked, delusional, mentally ill. Newspapers are flooded with stories about his nervous breakdown. The lie sticks, for now. But deep inside the Nazi leadership, trust begins to die. And while Goebbels works to patch the crack, Hitler's eyes are fixed elsewhere, on the east. It's June 1941. Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion in human history, begins. 3 million German soldiers march toward the Soviet Union. The propaganda machine calls it a crusade against Bolshevism. The people believe it will be quick, clean, and glorious. And at first, it is. The Wehrmacht blitzes through the border defenses. Kiev, Minsk, Smolensk all fall in weeks. Entire Soviet armies collapse. German radio hails Hitler as a military genius, a man chosen by fate itself, but then the weather turns. The Russian winter, the same frozen graveyard that swallowed Napoleon, now comes for Hitler. Temperatures plunge below -30. Tanks refuse to start. Rifles jam. Frostbite eats through boots and flesh. The soldiers who were promised victory now burn furniture to stay alive. Hitler, obsessed with his image, forbids retreat. He declares that no German soldier will take a single step backward. What was once portrayed as brilliance now looks like madness. The truth can't be hidden forever. Goebbels orders newsreels showing soldiers smiling in the snow, claiming they're adjusting well. Victories are fabricated, defeats erased. But whispers trickle through letters sent home. Mothers read between the lines. Wives sense the despair. The myth of invincibility, the belief that the Führer can never be wrong, starts to rot. Then, in December 1941, the unimaginable happens. Japan bombs Pearl Harbor, dragging the United States into the war. Hitler, consumed by arrogance, declares war on America, unprovoked. No consultation, no plan. He simply believes he can't lose. And just like that, Germany finds itself fighting three superpowers at once: Britain, the Soviet Union, and now the United States. The tide turns slowly at first, but unmistakably. By 1942, the illusion of unity inside the Nazi regime is crumbling. Hermann Göring, once a decorated war hero, has become a morphine addict drowning in stolen art and luxury. Heinrich Himmler is building his own empire inside the SS, and generals who once worshipped Hitler now question his sanity in whispers. But none of them dare speak, because in Hitler's Reich, even doubt is treason. Then comes Stalingrad, the graveyard of Hitler's ambition. It begins as another decisive victory, a city meant to be conquered quickly to humiliate Stalin. But Stalingrad refuses to fall. Soviet forces dig in street by street, building by building. German soldiers, promised a short campaign, are trapped in a nightmare. Winter strikes again. Supplies vanish. Starvation sets in. Göring promises Hitler that his Luftwaffe can airlift food and ammunition to the encircled army. He lies. Thousands die waiting for planes that never arrive. When Stalingrad finally falls in February 1943, over 90,000 German soldiers are captured to 24 generals among them. The once unstoppable Wehrmacht has been broken. For the first time, Goebbels can't spin the truth. He pivots instead, from victory to sacrifice. In a fiery speech in Berlin's Sportpalast, he demands total war. "Do you want it?" he screams. The terrified crowd shouts back yes, because the alternative, admitting the war is lost, is unthinkable. But beneath the forced cheers, the truth is already spreading. The Reich is bleeding out. Inside Germany, resistance begins to flicker, not from armies, but from students. In Munich, a small group calling themselves the White Rose starts printing leaflets denouncing the regime. They write about morality, about freedom, about the crimes being committed in their name. For a brief, shining moment, words become weapons. But the Gestapo finds them. The leaders, Hans and Sophie Scholl, are executed by guillotine. Their final words echo through history: "Long live freedom." The Nazi press mocks them as traitors. But quietly, many Germans feel something they haven't felt in years: shame. If you found this story eye-opening, subscribe for more forgotten moments of history that reveal how power rises and how it always falls.